Okay, so we are going to start off by putting in gray contacts. These were supposed to be gray, but they ended up being a light green. So if you want nice green contacts, then you can get the Sexy Wink Pearl Gray. But these definitely were not gray. But oh well. So then we are going to start on our eyes. So first I'm going to prime my eyes with Soft Ochre Paint Pot from MAC. And I love this to prime my eyes because it has a yellow tone to it, so it covers up any veins or discoloration on your eyelids. Then I'm going in with the Violet Voss and Laura Lee palette, and I'm using two colors for my transition. I'm using this peach shade and this more warm toned orangey brown. And first I'm going to lay down the peach shade, and once I have that on my eyes, I'm going to put that brown color in there. And this is just going to add some depth to our eyes, so I'm just going to keep going back and forth until I have the depth and darkness that I want in my crease. And then we're going to do our lid. So I'm going in with these two brown shades. I'm actually using the lighter brown first and then the darker brown, and then I will use the black shade. So I'm doing all this with just a dense fluffy brush, something similar to the MAC 217. And I'm just going back and forth on my lid and kind of patting it in and blending it out. And I'm starting off with the lighter brown and then the darker brown, and then I'll go in with the black. And for now, we're just bringing this from the lash line up to the crease. I'm not bringing this any further than the crease. And you want to kind of pat it on and blend it out like you can see me doing here. And then once I have it as dark as I want, I'm going to take the brush that I was using without any extra product on it and just blend it up into my crease, and then also go back in with my brush that I used for my transition shade and blend that in there as well. And I'm just going to keep going back and forth between the two brushes without any extra product on it, just until I feel like it all looks blown out and blended. And then I'm just going to use the two lightest shades in the palette to highlight my brow bone. So I'm putting the lightest part right at the arch, and then I'm blending it out from there. And then I'm using the Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Definer in the shade Dark Brown. And I'm just going to fill in my eyebrows. You can fill in your eyebrows however you want. I did do mine a little bit darker and bolder today than I normally do, just because I really wanted my eyebrows to stand out. And then I'm just going to set them with the Anastasia Clear Brow Gel like always. And then I'm just going in with a tissue with some Bioderma makeup remover on it, and I'm cleaning up under my eyes, and then I'm going to fold it to make it sharp, and I'm going to line it up from the outer corner of my eyes up to my brow, and I'm just going to wipe it to make a sharp edge. And then I'm just going to curl my lashes before we put on eyeliner. I like curling my lashes first because otherwise sometimes the lash curler will take off some of the eyeliner. And then I'm just using the Maybelline gel eyeliner and lining all along my upper lash line. And then to do my wing, I'm using the Wet n Wild waterproof eyeliner. I like using this because it has a really thin brush tip and it lets me get a really precise wing. And I'm just following that sharp edge that we made from wiping the eyeshadow with the tissue. And I didn't realize that my camera stopped recording for a little bit, but all I did after my eyeliner is I did foundation on the top half of my face where we're not going to have the mask, and then I used the Tarte Shape Tape Concealer under my eyes and set it all with the MAC Studio powder. So nothing too hard, it's really self-explanatory, just your foundation and concealer. And then I'm just using a pencil brush and blending out the colors that we used in our transition shade and on our lid on my lower lash line. And then I'm going to use a flat definer brush and add some of that black right onto the lash line. And I'm just going to keep going back and forth and adding color because I want to make sure that it's really dark and really defined. And then to make it even darker, I'm adding the black eyeliner right onto my inner rim on my lower lash line. And for this, I'm using the Ardency In eyeliner. And then I'm just going to coat my top lashes with this L'Oreal Carbon Black Mascara. This is just going to help make sure that they blend in with the falsies. And then I'm going to coat my lower lashes with the MAC Extended Play Lash Mascara. And I love using that MAC mascara for my lower lashes because it helps make sure that they're not clumpy and it doesn't transfer throughout the day. And for lashes, I'm using these Kiss lashes in the style Dreamy. You can just get these at your local Walgreens. And I just put on some lash glue, let it get tacky, and then applied those to my top lash line. And now it's time to move on to the mask. So I'm using this white face makeup from the Halloween store, and I'm just using a really thin defined brush, and I'm going to start carving out my eye sockets. And then I'm going to go onto my nose and I'm going to create 2 points on my nose and then just fill it all in with a sponge. The key to this is to do thin layers and just keep adding on it rather than doing one thick layer because then it's going to get really creamy and it's not going to look even. You just want to do thin layers and let it dry in between, and that's going to get it as even as possible. But if it's not perfect, don't worry about it because we don't want it to be perfect. We want it to look a little worn and realistic. And then you just want to make sure to cover your lips and blend it down your neck, and then we can move on to the black. So I'm taking the black and I'm taking a really thin, precise brush, and I'm just going to outline where we carved out our eye sockets, and I'm going to make it kind of thick in the middle and then taper it out on each end just so that way it doesn't have a hard stop. It just kind of disappears into the white. And then for my nose, I'm going in with a thin, precise brush, and I'm just outlining that shape that we already made at the top with the 2 points, and then I'm just going to bring the sides of it down and fill it in. And I was filling it in with that small brush, but I noticed that it was looking really streaky, so instead I just went in with a small blending brush and used that to fill it in. And then just like we did for the first black line up at the top, I'm doing a second one right under it, and I'm doing it thicker in the middle and then tapering it off. But this one I'm going to bring to the side of my nose and then bring it down my nose. And then I don't want that line to be too precise, so I'm just taking a clean blending brush and blending that out so that way it's not too perfect. I want it to be a little messy. And then I'm just going to clean between the two black lines that we just made with a little bit more white face paint just to brighten that up in between and clean it up a little bit. So now it's time to contour and make the cheekbones stand out. So I'm using that black face paint and just bringing it down my contour line where you would normally contour, but then I'm curving it down by my chin. They looked even in the end, but right here you can see that they're a little bit uneven. I didn't bring one down as far. The second one that I did where I brought it down further to my mouth, that's the shape you want to copy. You want to come down a little bit closer to your mouth and then bring it down on the side of your chin. And then I'm just going to start blending out right under that contour with the same black eyeshadow from the Violet Voss and Laura Lee palette that we used on our eyes. You just want to make sure that when you're blending it out that you're sticking to the same shape that we already created. Then I'm going in with this cool tone brown eyeshadow from the Sephora collection. Any cool brown toned eyeshadow will do. And then I'm just going to blend this right under the black that we just did. So it'll kind of be a gradual from black to brown. And you just want to make sure that you keep the same shape that we already created with the paint. So before we move on to the mouth, I'm just going to clean up the white with a new sponge and a little bit more white face paint. And then I'm going to add a little bit of black right on the inner part of our lips with the blending brush. And then I'm going to use a precise brush and just extend that line all the way out to our contour. And then use a clean blending brush to kind of blend out that line a little bit so it's not too perfect and precise. And then we can move on to the teeth. So for the teeth, I'm going to use a really thin brush and I'm just going to start a line right down the center of my mouth, and I'm just going to keep extending that out all the way on each side and make sure that it's all even. And you want to keep each tooth kind of big because you want to keep room to blend it all out with the black eyeshadow. So now that we have the teeth outlined, it's time to really create the shape, and this is where everything starts to come to life and look more realistic. So I'm just using a really small brush and a little bit of black eyeshadow, and I'm going to carve out the shape of the teeth. So you want it to be thicker at the base and thinner as you go up. And in between each tooth, you can see I'm just adding a little bit of black and blending it upwards so that way the white teeth really stand out. Let me see again. Okay. So I'm just going to do this all the way along the side of my teeth, making sure that it's thicker at the bottom and thinner at top, and then just blend it out and add black in between each tooth. Then I'm just going to do the same thing for my bottom teeth. Use black eyeshadow to carve out the shape, making it thicker at the base and thinner at the bottom, and blending it out in between each tooth. Then I'm just going in with a clean brush and blending out any of those black areas to make sure that it looks really smoky and that it all looks really blended. And once you finish the teeth, you are all done with your half skull look. Happy Halloween!